let's just say they're on the same page. They're on the same page. And what is the page? The page is, it's all, the whole world revolves around the president now. And what the president giveth, he can also taketh away, particularly in the market. And what do they need to do? If they're going to onshore the whole of the bottom of the manufacturing pyramid into America, they can't do that with tight money policy, can they? Who's going to fund that? And they're not going to do the AI build out necessary to at least stay neck and neck with China. That's not going to come free. We know how many trillions that's going to take. Then there's a government running a massive, massive deficit, like you've never seen before, to use a paraphrase. That needs loose money. So you've got three spokes or three legs on that stool of needing loose money: government runaway deficit, industrial build out, and AI build out. You've got to have a printathon. You can't go around, oh no, we don't want any of this inflation, or we're going to turn the money off. The stock market collapses, and then what have you got left? No industry, no stock market, no housing. I mean, all the American wealth has been financialized and pushed into the stock market. That's why they've been able to print money without there being runaway inflation. Yeah, so that financialization, which was the old globalization strategy, you can't get out of that. If you get out of that, what you got left?
Actually, Tavi Costa, I don't know if you follow his work, but he just reposted the rise of M2 money supply. I don't know if you've taken a look at that chart recently.
Oh, I mean, M2, when I last look at it makes you take a very sharp intake of breath. And, money supply, oh yeah, you want to know why you can get however much times sales for a SpaceX, 100 times sales, because money supply is big. But however, if you push that money supply into equities and you push that into bonds and you push that into real estate, you don't get so much inflation like you would if you did it another way. And if you're South America, you just print it and hand it out to your mates and you get hyperinflation. But if you do it this way, you print money, you push it into financialized assets, it takes the edge off it. And again, if they print like mad to rebuild industry and to build the AI build out, that won't be supersonically inflationary, but boy, will it be inflationary. I mean, you're looking at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9% inflation for the next decade. You can't have a Fed governor that says, no, you can't have that money. Well, what happens then? Your stock market doesn't go anywhere. You can't rebuild your industry. You can't do the AI build out. Meanwhile, China's got it all anyway. You're over, aren't you? You're finished. So this is the thought that people need to have. What happens if this does not happen? What happens to America?
What happens, Clem?
Well, I mean, it loses its position to China because China makes all the stuff. It can't have a conflict over Taiwan because it can't make its armaments anymore because it hasn't got any rare earth. It hasn't got much in the way of manufacture. It can't make can't make ships.
Before we continue, it's important to understand that this conversation goes far beyond interest rates. It's really about how the United States plans to finance massive investments in AI, manufacturing, and national security over the coming years. The decisions made today could shape the economy for the next decade. If you enjoy in-depth analysis on the economy, the Federal Reserve, gold, and global markets, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments, do you believe the Fed will eventually cut rates to support economic growth?
Well, you become a cargo cult, don't you? You become like what Europe has become, which is, not in the lead, not dominant anymore. You are not the dominant economy, which is why the Trump administration talks about energy dominance. And why it talks about being able to have lots of rare earth so they can build all the electronics they need to build. I mean, take, for example, just tomorrow. Tomorrow, the aliens swoop down and pluck out Taiwan and beam it up to another planet. What happened to the American stock market? What happened to Apple? What happened to all those tech companies that rely on Taiwanese chips? And for that matter, Chinese chips? Yeah? What would happen? It would all grind to a horrible halt, wouldn't it? So that is the dynamic, America and China running neck and neck. But America's got the base of the economic pyramid. And America's got, a fantastic top of the pyramid, but it hasn't got the base. If you haven't got rare earth, which is only I think, $20 billion market, that props up $7 trillion of economic activity. That one little Jenga block. And if you pull it out, the whole pyramid comes down, or in this case, tower comes down, right? And China have got many of those Jenga blocks. It controls pretty much all the strategic and critical minerals, and all the processing, and all the equipment, and all the precursors, just from one section. So how does America, well, listen to President Trump. What does he say? Make America great, and the key word is again. What does that imply? Make America great again. Was great, will be in the future. And that's what Trump's strategy is. And what a task. What a task.
What a
and you
task.
can't have hard money. You can't have tight money if you're going to do that. You've got to have loose money.
Well, I have to agree with that. And that's why what you said, they're going to have a print-a-thon. I'm going to put that in a quote, Clem Chambers. And I don't see any other way out as well, Clem. But at the same token, they want a strong dollar.
Well, you can have a strong dollar if you have a strong economy. And if there is one right now. Everybody was thinking gold was going up because the dollar was going to be devalued. Well, fear. Everybody loves fear. Everybody loves fiat currency. China doesn't want to have the reserve currency. It's got capital controls on its money, and for that matter, its equities. Yeah, he's quite happy for America to be the reserve currency and have to push its money into the world so that it has a trade deficit and has to buy stuff in for the world to get the money out there. So the reserve currency is going to go nowhere. And who wants to have a BRICS currency? Who wants the Brazilian real? Who wants the Indian rupee? Nobody wants those currencies, right? Because they make America fiat look wonderful. And, if you have a currency debasing at 8 or 9% a year, well, you can kind of cope with that. So America will be relatively strong. Yeah. But the buying power will go down. But the buying power of everything else will go down more. All right. So which is where your gold, your silver, your platinum, palladium come in, and why now we're not going to have World War III. I hope. Well, actually, right now, if you look at what's going on in the market, it looks like America's going to bomb Iran imminently. Absolutely, could be this weekend, right? Because you've got all the military stuff going through the roof. Gold's kicked up as well, which the short term has if you get that sort of thing going on. So we're on a knife edge with Iran, I think. Oil, non-Middle Eastern oil is kicked up. Equinor is what I follow. And so there's a knife edge there. So that might come up in the next week or two. Could be on the weekend. It's looking dicey.
Why,
long term.
Why? Because he wants just this to end, but it's extremely unpopular, Clem.
Yeah, well, so would a nuclear weapon being floated into New York Harbor.
Is that really are you really concerned about that? I mean, if I had to debate you back, I would say, well, do you sleep well at night knowing that North Korea has one? Yeah,
but North Korea is a puppet of China. It's a little snow globe where China goes, look, don't mess us around. This is what happens to China if you muck us about. This is our little demonstration of what China would look like if it wasn't run by marvelous people like us. And that's why North Korea exists. Without China, it doesn't exist, right? China could shut that down like that if it wanted to. It doesn't, because it's a perfect example of what you don't want to have as China. Yeah. And if you think about what China was in the 60s and 70s, it's not far away from North Korea is today. Yeah. So that's why they keep North Korea afloat. You say, you don't want that, do you? Do you want that? Well, you don't want that, do you? No. So, let's be friends. Yeah. Iran is just a wild card.
This is where the discussion becomes much bigger than politics. The real issue is global competition. From rare earth minerals to semiconductor manufacturing and supply chains, economic leadership is increasingly tied to national security. That's why so many investors are watching these developments so closely.
And if you don't think they wouldn't go down in a ball of flame and let Allah sort everything out, I think you're mistaken. And, I think the Israelis are on that page too. Yeah, they've got them, but, those guys I mean, look at what's just happened. I mean, they went, oh, we've been attacked by America. We're going to blow up everybody. Yeah. If you look at Yemen, you might as well write Iran on that. If you look at South Lebanon, you might as well cross out Lebanon and write Iran. Yeah. So, give them a nuclear weapon. Why wouldn't you use it? You believe in Allah? Hey, let's go for it. Strike the beast at its heart. Well, how are you going to do that? You just sail it in a boat, don't you? Bang. Goodbye. Don't think they'd do that? Anybody listening to this don't think they're capable of doing that?
Oh, Clem,
that's why America's doing it. Nuclear weapons.
This is a can of worms, right?
Of course it is. It's not very complicated. Is it a possibility?
Because there's so many schools of thought. They're nowhere close to having the nuclear weapon. Are they? Aren't they? I mean, what information do we really have, Clem? I mean,
well, I don't know why. It's a good job they just don't write a big check to Pakistan and take one of theirs.
Oh, right.
Well, Pakistan's got one.
Well, okay. Do you sleep well at night knowing Pakistan has a nuclear weapon? I mean, I guess the bigger question is, and I've brought this up to others, of, who gets to decide who has a nuclear weapon and who does not have a nuclear weapon? What constitutes good? What constitutes bad?
Well, in the old days, it was America that decides who gets a nuclear weapon.
Yes.
And the idea is nobody gets it. And that was a big deal. Anti-nuclear proliferation, the history of that is a big, big deal. Right? And, because of what those things can do. And because now it's much easier than it was 40, 50 years ago. And, that is, you could do your research on weapons of mass destruction and how important the international community, as it was, considered that. But, at the end of the day, that's the big question. That's the big risk of a, massive weapon that can be detonated. And, they wouldn't be bothered otherwise. You just leave them to it, wouldn't you?
And wouldn't it be nice if,
Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice? But, if natural stupidity, no short supply.
Okay, let's go back. I started with the jobs numbers. Let's just talk briefly about this because, we don't even know what truth there is to these numbers. But anyhow, what does it say about the state of the American economy in your point of view right now?
Well, I mean, it's choppy, is what I would say. It's choppy. Yeah. And, at the end of the day, if America's economy stays the way that it is, it's got a little bit of bounce in it, a little bit of spice. Unemployment, it's not so high. It's kind of at the level which is meant to be sustainable without creating unwanted inflation. Inflation has been pulled back. But we are in a new epoch. It's not even a new era. We're in a new epoch. And you're seeing that with what's going on with AI and what's going on with America planning to and working really hard to rebuild its industrial base. Yeah. And the breaking of the globalized old model of everybody trading over long supply chains, that's all gone now. Now, whether it would come back after if the Republicans lose control of the presidency is another matter. Whether the Democrats would go, oh, you don't want to bother with any of this. Just let's be friends and let's open up international trade again and let's have long supply chains and let's just bow down to China because they've got the population. You don't know.
It's interesting in the restaurant and service industry. I guess we have to see a breakdown of these jobs numbers, Clem. But I just did a recent, drive up from New York City to Montreal, where I am now, and I cannot tell you the amount of.
One of the biggest lessons from this discussion is that long-term investing isn't just about reacting to today's headlines. It's about recognizing structural changes before they become obvious to everyone else. Whether it's inflation, industrial policy, or precious metals, understanding these long-term trends can make a significant difference over time.
Restaurants, chains, whatever, basically begging people to come and work. I mean, they've taken out banners that basically cover the entire, walls of their outside, brick and mortar places. begging for people like, come, we need workers, whatever we're paying per hour. So McDonald's, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, Dunkin' Donuts, all hiring. It's like they can't find workers.
Yeah, well, it's very simple. You just put up your wages and you'll find more. You put them up until you don't need to find any more. And that's good. That's very, very good, because they're the people in your economy that you want to be paid more. People complain about the K-shaped economy and how the rich are getting richer. Well, how about the poor getting richer? That's exactly what that is. So that's good. Because, why should people that work in those industries get paid badly? Why shouldn't they get paid much better? So, they will come. If you pay enough, they will come. They won't say, oh, no, you've doubled that salary, I'm not going to do it. They will come if it's worth their while. And that's the whole point about an economy. All these elites all around the world importing poor people to keep the wages of the working class down. That's abomination in my book.
Well,
you should get their pay.
Minimum wage. What do you think the minimum wage should be in the U.S.?
Well, it's not a question of what the minimum wage is. It's what the wages people will pay. Going around forcing people to pay a minimum, that's just one of those things that politicians do to get votes, but doesn't help for employment, because it breaks the ladder. It means that you have to go up a certain level of value in a job before you can actually have people working for you, which from in the right wing, of which I suppose I would say I was from, the minimum wage is anti-employment.
Clem, but there's another big difference though. That people also, and I'm talking young kids, right? That a lot of these jobs are for, kids in college or whatnot. But I remember being that kid in college, horribly paid, working at, some retail store. And I remember it was like, what, $7 hourly wage at the time, Canadian, crappy salary.
Yeah.
But I still did it. Because I couldn't sit home on my butt. My parents were like, you need a summer job, or, you have to do something while you're in college.
Well, now you can.
So it was also a different mindset, right? Like you couldn't sit home and play Minecraft. I couldn't sit home and mine crypto or look to make, or go online and try and make, become a TikTok influencer and try and make money that way. So there's also the work ethic that has changed, Clem.
Well, if your parents are subbing you, then you're going to make that decision. It's just a financial decision, isn't it? And, if that means that you have to pay young people more to work in McDonald's, I'm all for it. And why shouldn't kids play Minecraft? I'm all for it.